The docking tube extended with a metallic hiss, connecting the human transport Endeavor to the massive alien vessel floating in the void. Cadet Leora Chun pressed her palm against the porthole, watching the Harmony star eclipse the distant sun. The ship defied human architectural sensibilities. Its surface rippled like liquid mercury, adorned with crystalline spires that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. "Nervous?" asked Commander Torres, joining her at the observation deck. "Excited," Leora replied, though her heart hammered against her ribs. At 19, she was the youngest human selected for the United Galactic Academy's inaugural interspecies exchange program. 6 months of intensive preparation hadn't quite prepared her for this moment, stepping aboard a ship designed by minds that had evolved under different stars. The Harmony star belonged to the Valen Collective, one of 6 species that had formed the Galactic Council after the devastating trade wars ended 50 years ago. The ship served as a neutral territory, a floating campus where the galaxy's brightest minds could learn together without the weight of planetary politics. "Remember, Cadet," Torres said, adjusting Leora's insignia, "you're not just representing Earth. You're representing the possibility that different worlds can share the same dream." The airlock cycled open, revealing a corridor that seemed to breathe. The walls undulated gently, lined with phosphorescent panels that responded to their presence with ripples of soft blue light. The artificial gravity felt slightly heavier than Earth standard, and the air carried unfamiliar scents, something like ozone mixed with flowering jasmine. A figure approached from the corridor's depths, tall and graceful, with elongated limbs and skin that shifted between silver and pale green. The Valen moved with fluid precision. 4 arms gestured in what Leora recognized as a traditional greeting. "Welcome, human Narration," the being said, its voice melodious despite the universal translator's slight delay. "I am Navigator Kesthan of the Valen Collective. The Harmony star systems have been configured to accommodate your physiological requirements." Leora attempted the 4-armed greeting she'd practiced, managing only an awkward approximation. Kesthan's skin flickered with what she hoped was amusement rather than disdain. "Your efforts honor our customs," the navigator said. "Come, your classmates are eager to meet you." They traveled through corridors that defied Euclidean geometry, past chambers where students from different worlds worked at stations that adapted to their unique anatomies. Leora glimpsed a thorax cadet, its crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the room's light in prismatic patterns, manipulating holographic equations with precise movements of its faceted limbs. In another room, 2 Zephyrian scholars floated in null-gravity chambers, their gaseous forms creating intricate dance patterns as they debated atmospheric dynamics. "The Academy operates on the Harmony Protocol," Kesson explained as they walked. "All knowledge is shared, all perspectives valued. No single species approach is considered superior." They entered a vast amphitheater where the most extraordinary sight of Leora's life awaited. Representatives of all 6 council species filled the tiered seating, their forms as diverse as the worlds they called home. The Valen contingent occupied one section, their silver-green forms creating subtle light patterns as they communicated through bioluminescent signals. Nearby, the Thorac delegation sat motionless as mountains, their crystalline bodies refracting the chamber's light into rainbow displays. The Zephyrians had claimed the upper tiers, their gaseous forms contained within elegant environmental suits that allowed them to maintain cohesion in the ship's atmosphere. In the center sections sat the Ketheri, their fur ranging from midnight black to golden bronze, tails twitching with barely contained energy. Their enhanced neural interfaces glowed softly at the base of their skulls, the result of cybernetic evolution that had made them the galaxy's premier information brokers. The most alien presence belonged to the Ndari delegation. Ancient beyond measure, these energy beings appeared as shifting patterns of light contained within crystalline matrices. Their thoughts moved at speeds that required mechanical translation to be comprehensible to biological minds. "Presenting human Narration," Keston announced, first of her species to join our academic collective. A Ketheri student bounded forward, moving with feline grace. Her russet fur bore intricate braided patterns, and her neural interface pulsed with welcoming colors. "I'm Zara Kathrin, xenobiology specialist." The entire ship's been buzzing with curiosity about humans for weeks. Her voice carried a purring undertone that the translator rendered as enthusiasm. "Just Leora is fine," she said, offering her hand in the human gesture of greeting. Zara examined it with scientific fascination before carefully reciprocating. Fascinating. The human bonding ritual involves physical contact. Most species find such proximity uncomfortable. A harmonic tone drew their attention to a thorax student approaching with careful, deliberate steps. Its crystalline body stood nearly 3 meters tall, and its voice resonated through its entire structure when it spoke. "I am formation of perfect angles. My designation translates poorly to your linguistic structures. You may call me Angle, if it pleases you." "Angle it is," Leora said, suppressing a smile at the unexpected practicality of the name. A swirl of contained atmosphere announced the arrival of a Zephyrian student, their form visible as eddies and currents within their environmental suit. "Swift current between worlds greets the oxygen breather," came the translated voice. "Your species creates fascinating atmospheric disturbances. I would study these phenomena, if permitted." "Swift current, I presume?" "Yes. Though swift suffices for your linguistic efficiency requirements." The final introduction came from the Ndari representative, whose crystalline matrix flickered with patterns too rapid for biological eyes to follow. "The pattern that seeks understanding welcomes the new thought configuration," the mechanical voice intoned. "I am called Pattern by shorter-lived species." Leora found herself at the center of a genuine welcome celebration. Despite their profound differences, each species had made efforts to accommodate her presence. The Valen had adjusted their ship's lighting to include more of the spectrum humans found comfortable. The Thorak had modulated their harmonic communications to avoid frequencies that might damage human hearing. Even Ndari had slowed their thought patterns to allow for real-time conversation. "This is incredible," Leora said, turning slowly to take in the assembled students. "On Earth, we can barely get 3 countries to agree on trade regulations. The Harmony Protocol makes such cooperation possible," Zara explained. "When species share knowledge freely, competition becomes collaboration." Angle's crystalline form resonated with agreement. "The trade wars demonstrated the futility of resource competition. Unity proves more efficient than conquest." Swift gestured with elegant atmospheric currents. "Each species contributes unique perspectives. Human creativity complements Valen intuition and Thorak logic." Pattern's lights flickered rapidly before settling into a comprehensible pattern. New thought configurations present infinite possibility matrices. Human cognitive architecture offers unprecedented pattern variations. The welcome ceremony continued for hours, featuring demonstrations of each species' unique abilities and cultural achievements. Leora watched Valen students create living sculptures from their ship's organic walls. Thorak demonstrations of perfect geometric harmony left mathematical equations hanging in the air like crystal art. Zephyrian atmospheric dances painted invisible masterpieces in 3-dimensional space. The Kethari shared data streams that flowed between their neural interfaces, creating temporary collective consciousness that solved complex problems in seconds. The Ndari projected holographic representations of their thought processes, revealing cognitive architectures that operated across multiple dimensional frameworks. When Leora's turn came, she felt inadequate. Humans had no natural bioluminescence, no crystalline perfection, no gaseous form to create atmospheric art. They couldn't interface directly with computer systems or think at light speed. "I'm not sure what I can show you," she admitted. "Humans are pretty ordinary compared to all this." Zara's neural interface flashed with what Leora was learning to recognize as disagreement. "Your species survived on a death world without external technological assistance. That suggests extraordinary adaptive capabilities." "Death world?" Leora asked. Angle's harmonic voice carried undertones of respect. "Terra features excessive gravitational stress, volatile weather systems, and aggressive biological competition. Most council species would find survival impossible." Swift's atmospheric patterns grew agitated. "Your atmosphere contains oxygen, a highly corrosive gas that would poison our respiratory systems. Yet humans thrive in such conditions." Patterns lights arranged themselves in what might have been admiration. Human adaptive capacity exceeds all recorded biological parameters. Survival mechanisms operate through pure biological processes without technological enhancement. The revelation that Earth was considered a hostile environment by galactic standards struck Leora as oddly amusing. "I guess we're tougher than we look." "More than tough," Zara said, her whiskers twitching with excitement. "Your species' biological diversity suggests incredible adaptive potential. I've been studying human genetic markers. The variations are astounding." Their conversation was interrupted by Commander Kesten's announcement that classes would begin the following ship cycle. Students dispersed to their quarters, each group heading towards sections of the ship designed for their specific environmental needs. Leora's quarters occupied a section of the ship that had been specially modified for human habitation. The rooms maintained Earth-standard atmosphere and gravity, with lighting that cycled through a 24-hour pattern. Her roommate was another human, Marcus Webb, an engineering specialist from the Luna colonies. "Can you believe this place?" Marcus said, bouncing on his bed to test the artificial gravity. "The Valen grew these rooms from scratch. Apparently, the ship can reshape itself on command. It's like being inside a living creature," Leora agreed, running her hand along the wall. The surface felt warm and seemed to pulse with a faint heartbeat-like rhythm. "The other species are incredible. That thorax student, Angle, showed me crystalline computing matrices that make our best quantum processors look like stone tools." Leora nodded, but something nagged at her. Despite the overwhelming welcome and the marvel of being surrounded by galactic civilization, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was missing something important. The other species treated humanity with a mixture of fascination and careful respect, as if they knew something about humans that even humans didn't know. That night, as the ship's walls dimmed to simulate nightfall, Leora lay awake listening to the vessel's organic sounds. Somewhere in the distance, she could hear the harmonic vibrations of thorax students engaged in meditation, the soft atmospheric movements of Zephyrians at rest, and the subtle bioluminescent flickers of Valen communication. For the first time in her life, she truly understood what it meant to be part of something larger than her own world. Tomorrow, she would begin learning alongside the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. But tonight, she simply marveled at the miracle of 6 species choosing cooperation over conflict. She fell asleep to the gentle rhythm of the ship's pulse, unaware that in the depths of space, something ancient was stirring, something that would test the harmony protocol in ways its creators had never imagined. Leora's first formal class took place in what the Valen called a learning chamber, a spherical room that could reconfigure its environment to accommodate any educational scenario. When she and her classmates arrived, the chamber had arranged itself into a traditional amphitheater, though the physics defied human understanding. Students sat in perfect acoustical positions regardless of the chamber's actual geometry. Professor Theron, an elderly Valen whose skin had shifted to deep silver with age, stood at the chamber's center. 4 of her arms manipulated holographic displays, while her remaining 2 gestured expressively. "Welcome to comparative xenobiology," she announced, her melodious voice reaching every student with perfect clarity. "Today we begin our study of how life adapts to the infinite variety of galactic environments." The chamber's walls dissolved, replaced by a breathtaking vista of alien landscapes. Desert worlds where crystalline forests grew from pure silicon. Ocean planets where bioluminescent cities floated in eternal twilight. Gas giants where aerial whale analogs swam through atmosphere so dense it approached liquid consistency. Each species represented in this chamber evolved unique solutions to survival challenges. Professor Theron continued. The thorax achieved perfect structural efficiency through crystalline biology. The Zephyrians transcended physical form by becoming atmospheric organisms. Dendari evolved beyond matter itself into pure energy constructs. Leora found herself mesmerized by the display. Each world represented billions of years of evolutionary pressure, resulting in forms of life that challenged every assumption about biological possibility. But today, the professor said, her bioluminescent patterns flickering with what Leora was learning to recognize as anticipation, we will examine the most unusual evolutionary pathway in our records. The chamber transformed again, displaying a blue-green world orbited by a single large moon. Leora's heart leaped as she recognized Earth from space, though this view included data overlays she had never seen. Terra, or Earth, as its inhabitants call it, presents a unique case study. Unlike most worlds that develop specialized life forms, Earth supports incredible biodiversity through what appears to be evolutionary chaos. Marcus shifted uncomfortably beside Leora. Being the subject of academic scrutiny felt strange, especially when presented as a biological curiosity. Professor Theron's holographic displays showed Earth's evolutionary timeline, highlighting the planet's numerous mass extinction events. 5 major extinction cycles, countless smaller ones, extreme climate variations, and constant predatory pressure. By all reasonable predictions, such conditions should have produced highly specialized, narrowly adapted life forms. Instead, Zara interjected, her neural interface pulsing with data streams. Earth's life became increasingly generalized and adaptable. Precisely, the professor agreed. Humans represent the apex of this evolutionary strategy. Rather than developing specific adaptations like enhanced senses, environmental suits, or energy manipulation, humans became supremely adaptable generalists. Engel's crystalline form resonated with a questioning tone. Such adaptation seems inefficient. Specialization provides superior performance in specific environments. True, Professor Theron acknowledged. But observe what happens when environmental conditions change. The display shifted to show simulation models. Specialized species thrived in stable conditions, but suffered catastrophic population collapse when environments shifted. Generalist species survived with minimal losses, quickly adapting to new circumstances. The human strategy prioritizes survival over optimization, the professor explained. Their biological systems maintain extraordinary redundancy and flexibility. Swift's atmosphere patterns grew agitated. Such redundancy suggests preparation for extreme environmental variation. What conditions produced this adaptive strategy? The question hung in the chamber's recycled air. Professor Theron's skin flickered through several color patterns before settling into what Leora was beginning to recognize as scholarly uncertainty. That remains one of xenobiology's great mysteries. Earth's environmental pressures, while severe, don't fully explain human adaptive capacity. Some theorists suggest missing evolutionary factors, perhaps intervention by unknown species, or exposure to conditions no longer present in Earth's environment. Pattern's crystalline matrix flared with rapid light sequences. Human genetic architecture contains unexpressed potential markers. Dormant biological systems suggest preparation for unknown stimuli. Leora felt a chill despite the chamber's perfect temperature regulation. What kind of dormant systems? Enhanced immune responses to pathogens that don't exist on Earth, Zara explained, her whiskers twitching with scientific excitement. Genetic markers for radiation resistance far exceeding planetary requirements. Metabolic pathways that activate only under specific stress conditions. It's as if humans were designed for challenges they haven't yet encountered, Professor Theron said thoughtfully. The class continued with detailed examinations of each species' evolutionary history. The Valen had developed their 4-armed configuration and bioluminescent communication in response to life in vast underground cavern systems. The Thorak had achieved crystalline perfection after their planet's atmosphere became saturated with silicon compounds. Each adaptation made perfect sense within its environmental context. Humans remained the anomaly, over-engineered for their environment, carrying biological potential that exceeded their world's demands. After class, Leora and her study group gathered in one of the ship's common areas. The space had configured itself to accommodate all 6 species, with variable atmosphere zones, adjustable gravity fields, and surfaces that could provide any required environmental interaction. I feel like we're specimens in a laboratory, Marcus said, settling onto a human-compatible chair that had grown from the floor moments before. Fascinating specimens, Zara corrected, her neural interface glowing as she accessed genetic databases. I've been comparing human DNA to other council species. The complexity is unprecedented. How so? Leora asked. Most species' genetic codes are elegant, streamlined. Millions of years of evolutionary pressure removing inefficient sequences. Human DNA is chaotic, redundant, full of what appear to be backup systems and unused potential. Engel's harmonic voice carried undertones of mathematical appreciation. Chaos often conceals deeper patterns. Human genetic architecture may represent systematic preparation rather than random mutation. Swift's atmospheric currents created contemplative spirals. Your species exhibits behavioral patterns consistent with disaster preparation instincts. Humans stockpile resources, develop contingency plans, and maintain defensive postures even in safe environments. Survival instincts, Leora said, but even as she spoke, she wondered if it was that simple. Patterns' lights flickered in complex sequences before resolving into comprehensible patterns. Human collective behavior demonstrates anticipation of catastrophic events. Cultural development emphasizes preservation of knowledge across potential collapse scenarios. The observation struck Leora as uncomfortably accurate. Human cultures did seem obsessed with preserving knowledge, preparing for disasters, and maintaining backup systems for critical technologies. Even their journey to the stars have been motivated partly by the desire to ensure species survival. Maybe we're just paranoid, Marcus suggested. Or prepared, Zara countered. My preliminary genetic analysis suggests human immune systems could respond to pathogens that don't exist in known galactic environments. That's not paranoia. That's biological prescience. Their discussion was interrupted by an announcement from Commander Kesthan. All students report to designated stations. The Harmony Star is receiving a priority communication from the Galactic Council. The common area's walls became transparent, revealing the vast central chamber where the ship's command systems operated. Valen crew members moved with fluid precision, their bioluminescent communications creating patterns of urgent activity. A holographic projection materialized in the chamber's center, the six-sided symbol of the Galactic Council, representing unity among the diverse species. The projection resolved into the form of Chancellor Mordan, an ancient Ndari whose crystalline matrix had achieved a complexity that dwarfed even Pattern's advanced configuration. Citizens of the Harmony Star, the Chancellor's mechanical voice resonated through the ship's organic structure. We have received disturbing reports from Council worlds. A pathogenic organism of unknown origin has begun affecting non-human populations across 3 stellar systems. The holographic display shifted to show medical data, infection vectors, symptom progressions, and mortality statistics that made Leora's stomach clench. Initial symptoms include neural pathway disruption, cellular degradation, and system-wide organ failure. The pathogen appears specifically designed to target non-human biology, showing no effect on human populations. Marcus grabbed Leora's arm. Did you hear that? It doesn't affect humans. The Galactic Council's Medical Research Division has traced the pathogen's origin to the Kepler sector, site of recent archaeological excavations. All non-essential personnel are advised to maintain safe distances from affected systems until a cure can be developed. Chancellor Mordan's image flickered with what might have been concern. The Academy ship Harmony Star will continue its educational mission, but all students should observe enhanced biosecurity protocols. The diversity that makes our alliance strong may also make us vulnerable to threats we cannot yet understand. The communication ended, leaving the ship's inhabitants in stunned silence. Leora felt the weight of every alien gaze in the chamber turning toward her and Marcus, the only 2 beings aboard apparently immune to this new threat. Zara was the first to speak, her neural interface blazing with rapid data access. A pathogen that targets non-humans specifically? That's impossible through natural evolution. Unless Engel's harmonic voice carried ominous undertones. It was designed with specific targets in mind. Swift's atmospheric patterns became agitated, creating turbulent eddies within the containment suit. Who would create such a weapon? And why spare humans? Pattern's crystalline matrix flared with computational activity before settling into disturbing patterns. Human immunity suggests prior exposure or genetic preparation for this specific pathogen. Probability calculations indicate deliberate defensive measure rather than coincidental resistance. The implications hung heavy in the ship's recycled atmosphere. If humans were naturally immune to this plague, it suggested one of two possibilities. Either they had encountered it before, or they had been specifically engineered to resist it. Both possibilities raised questions that Leora wasn't sure she wanted answered. "We need to get to those archaeological sites," she said quietly. "If this pathogen came from Kepler's sector excavations, there might be clues about its origin." Keston approached their group, the navigator's skin patterns cycling through colors that suggested deep concern. "The Council has classified Kepler's sector as quarantine territory. No vessels are permitted to approach." "Then how do we solve this?" Marcus asked. "Perhaps," Professor Therin suggested, joining their impromptu conference, "the answer lies not in the pathogen's origin, but in human immunity. If we can understand why humans resist this disease, we might develop treatments for other species." Leora felt the expectant attention of every being in the chamber focusing on her. Somehow, in the span of a single day, she had gone from being a curious specimen to potentially holding the key to galactic survival. "I'll do whatever it takes," she said, though uncertainty gnawed at her confidence. "But I need to understand what we're really dealing with." Zara's neural interface pulsed with determination. "Then we start with comprehensive biological analysis. If humans carry immunity to this pathogen, that immunity must have an evolutionary origin. And if that origin reveals uncomfortable truths about human history," Engel asked. Leora met the crystalline being's faceted gaze. "Then we deal with those truths, whatever it takes to save lives." As the students dispersed to process the day's revelations, Leora remained in the common area, staring out at the stars. Somewhere in the vast galaxy, people were dying from a disease that couldn't touch her. The random chance of genetic lottery had made her immune while condemning others to suffer. But was it really random chance? Or was she carrying the legacy of some ancient preparation, some long-forgotten encounter that had shaped human evolution in ways no one remembered? The questions multiplied in her mind, each one leading to darker possibilities. Tomorrow, she would begin the search for answers, even if those answers challenged everything she believed about her own species. In the depths of space, the Harmony Star continued its voyage, carrying within its organic hulls the seeds of discovery that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The medical bay of the Harmony Star defied every human conception of hospital design. Organic walls pulsed with gentle rhythms while diagnostic equipment grew from the floor like technological trees. The space could reconfigure itself to accommodate any species' physiology, creating treatment environments perfectly suited to crystalline, gaseous, or energy-based life forms. Leora lay on what the Valen medical staff called a biodiagnostic platform, a surface that felt warm and alive beneath her, constantly adjusting its support to match her body's contours. Arrays of sensors had deployed around her like curious metallic flowers, analyzing every aspect of her biology with instruments that made human medical technology seem primitively crude. Dr. Solanvar, the ship's chief medical officer, worked with fluid grace at multiple control interfaces simultaneously. The elderly Valen's skin had deepened to a rich copper color with age, and her movements carried the precision of someone who had spent decades working with alien biologies. "Fascinating," the doctor murmured, her bioluminescent patterns flickering with what Leora recognized as scientific excitement. "Your immune system architecture exceeds theoretical optimal parameters by significant margins." "What does that mean?" Leora asked, trying not to flinch as another sensor array descended to scan her nervous system. "Most species develop immune responses through evolutionary exposure to specific pathogens," Dr. Solanvar explained. "Your system appears designed to respond to threats it has never encountered." Zara bounded into the medical bay, her neural interface glowing with excitement. "The preliminary genetic analysis is complete. Leora, your DNA contains immune system coding for at least 47 distinct pathogen categories that don't exist in Earth's biosphere." Marcus joined them, carrying a data tablet, displaying incomprehensible medical charts. "How is that possible? Evolution doesn't prepare for threats that don't exist." Dr. Solanvar's skin shifted to deeper copper tones. "Unless the threats did exist, at some point in human evolutionary history." The implications settled over the medical bay like a heavy atmosphere. Leora felt a chill that had nothing to do with the examination room's temperature. You're saying humans encountered these diseases before? The genetic evidence suggests exposure to a wide variety of extraterrestrial pathogens, the doctor confirmed, but not recent exposure. These immune adaptations are deeply embedded in human genetic structure, suggesting they developed over many thousands of years. Angle materialized in the medical bay's entrance, the thorax crystalline form refracting the organic lighting into prismatic patterns. The timeline creates paradox. Humans achieve space travel only recently, yet carry immunity to galactic diseases. Swift flowed into the room within their atmospheric containment suit, gaseous currents creating agitated patterns. Unless space travel came to them. The observation hung in the air like a dangerous revelation. Leora's mind raced through the implications. If humans had been exposed to galactic diseases thousands of years ago, it meant contact with extraterrestrial life had occurred far earlier than recorded history suggested. There might be another explanation, Pattern said, their crystalline matrix flickering as they joined the group. Then Darius' energy patterns had reconfigured to allow for real-time biological conversation. Human genetic architecture suggests systematic modification rather than natural selection pressure. Genetic modification? Marcus asked. By whom? Unknown species with advanced biological manipulation capabilities, Pattern replied. Human immune system design exceeds natural evolutionary parameters. Indicates deliberate enhancement for specific survival scenarios. Dr. Solanvar manipulated her diagnostic displays, highlighting sections of Leora's genetic code that appeared to glow with their own internal light. The modification theory fits the evidence. These immune adaptations show design characteristics, too elegant and comprehensive for random mutation, too extensive for natural selection. So humans were engineered? Leora asked, the concept feeling surreal, even as the evidence mounted around her. Enhanced, perhaps, the doctor corrected. Your base genetics appear naturally evolved, but with systematic additions designed to improve survival rates under specific conditions. Zara's whiskers twitched as she processed streams of genetic data through her neural interface. The enhancement patterns focus primarily on pathogen resistance and cellular repair mechanisms. Whoever modified human genetics wanted to ensure survival against biological threats. But why? Marcus demanded. Why would anyone enhance human immune systems against diseases that didn't exist on Earth? Engel's harmonic voice carried undertones of logical deduction. Perhaps the diseases did exist on Earth, but were eliminated after humans developed immunity. The suggestion created an uncomfortable silence. If Earth had once been home to the kind of pathogens now affecting Council worlds, what had happened to them? And what had happened to whatever species might have been responsible for enhancing human genetics? I need to access the archaeological data from Kepler's sector, Leora said, sitting up on the diagnostic platform. If this pathogen came from excavation sites, there might be connections to whatever enhanced human immunity. Dr. Solanvar's bioluminescent patterns shifted to warning colors. The sector remains under strict quarantine. Council vessels are maintaining a perimeter at safe distance. Then we need to convince the Council to share their data, Leora insisted. People are dying, and I might be carrying the key to understanding why. Commander Keston entered the medical bay, the navigator's usually fluid movements showing signs of stress. Cadet Chun, the Council has issued new directives. All humans are requested to report for comprehensive biological analysis. Requested? Marcus asked. Ordered, Keston clarified. The pathogen has spread to 7 star systems. Non-human casualties are approaching millions. The Council requires complete understanding of human immunity factors. Leora felt the weight of galactic expectations settling on her shoulders. She had come to the Academy to learn from other species, not to become the subject of desperate medical research. I'll cooperate fully, she said, but I want access to all relevant data, including the Kepler sector findings. Keston's skin patterns flickered with what might have been admiration. You negotiate like a seasoned diplomat, young human. Very well. The Council has agreed to share classified archaeological data with Academy personnel involved in immunity research. Within hours, The Harmony Star had transformed one of its larger chambers into a comprehensive research facility. Students and faculty from all 6 species worked at interfaces designed for their unique anatomies, analyzing data streams that revealed the scope of the crisis unfolding across the galaxy. The Kepler sector archaeological sites had uncovered ruins of unprecedented age, structures that predated known galactic civilizations by millions of years. The excavations had revealed technology based on principles that challenged current understanding of physics, along with biological specimens preserved in stasis chambers of unknown design. The pathogen was found in one of these stasis chambers, Zara reported, her neural interface blazing with data activity. It was contained within some kind of biological storage system that broke down when exposed to modern atmospheric conditions. A preserved weapons sample, Swift suggested, their atmospheric patterns creating complex spirals of agitation. Perhaps, Engel replied, or a naturally occurring disease that ancient civilizations failed to contain. Pattern's crystalline matrix flashed with rapid computations. Archaeological evidence suggests deliberate preservation. Storage systems show signs of intentional design for long-term containment. Leora studied the holographic displays showing the excavation sites. The ruins covered thousands of square kilometers, featuring architecture that seemed to grow from the planet's bedrock rather than being constructed upon it. The style felt familiar, though she couldn't place why. These buildings, she said slowly, they look organic, like they were grown rather than built. Dr. Solanvar approached the displays, her forearms manipulating different data streams simultaneously. The construction techniques show remarkable similarity to Valen bioarchitectural methods, but far more advanced. Could the Valen have built these structures? Marcus asked. Impossible, Keston replied. These ruins predate our civilization by geological ages. However, the construction methods suggest whoever built them may have influenced our own architectural evolution. The implications were staggering. If ancient civilizations had influenced the development of current galactic species, it might explain the systematic nature of human genetic enhancement. But it raised even more disturbing questions about what had happened to these ancient builders. There's something else, Zara announced, her excitement causing her neural interface to pulse with rapid data streams. The biological storage systems contain more than just the pathogen. There are genetic samples from dozens of species, including what appears to be baseline human DNA. Leora felt the chamber's artificial gravity seemed to shift beneath her feet. Baseline human DNA? Unmodified human genetic code, lacking the enhanced immune systems found in modern humans, Dr. Solanvar explained. It suggests these ancient civilizations encountered humans before the genetic modifications occurred. How long ago? Leora asked, though she dreaded the answer. Pattern's lights flickered through complex calculations. Archaeological dating indicates stasis chamber creation approximately 50,000 Earth years ago. Human genetic modifications show similar temporal markers. 50,000 years. The number hit Leora like a physical blow. Human civilization supposedly began only a few thousand years ago, yet evidence suggested contact with advanced galactic civilizations dating back to the Paleolithic era. What happened to them? She whispered. These ancient builders, where did they go? The question hung unanswered in the research chamber's recycled atmosphere. Whatever civilization had possessed the technology to preserve pathogens across geological timescales and enhance human genetics had vanished, leaving behind only ruins and biological samples. Maybe, Marcus said quietly, they didn't go anywhere. Maybe they're still here in the genetic modifications they made to humanity. Engel's crystalline form resonated with harmonic agreement. The evidence suggests systematic preparation for future crisis events. Perhaps human enhancement was part of larger preservation protocol. Preservation of what? Swift asked, their atmospheric patterns betraying agitation. Knowledge. Technology. The ability to survive what they could not, Dr. Solanvar suggested. If these ancient civilizations faced extinction-level threats, they might have enhanced other species to serve as repositories. Leora felt a chill understanding settle over her. If humanity had been enhanced as some kind of biological archive, It meant they carried more than just immune system modifications. They might be living containers for the knowledge and capabilities of vanished civilizations. "We need to get to those excavation sites," she said with newfound determination. "If humans are connected to these ancient builders, there might be more than pathogen samples waiting in those ruins." Keston's skin patterns shifted to warning colors. "The quarantine remains absolute. No vessel may approach Kepler's sector." "Then we bring Kepler's sector to us," Leora replied. "Transmit all available data, biological samples, everything they've found. If I'm carrying genetic modifications from these ancient civilizations, maybe I can understand their technology." It was a desperate plan, but as reports continued to arrive of spreading plague across Council worlds, desperate measures seemed increasingly reasonable. The search for answers was becoming a race against extinction, not just for current galactic civilization, but for the remnants of whatever ancient knowledge humanity might unknowingly preserve. In the depths of space, the Harmony Star prepared to unlock secrets that had remained buried for 50 millennia.